This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Next up, Trish Stratus is going to beat Mickie James by DQ in 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So Mickie retains the women's title. Trish takes control with a stiff kick to the head and sends Mickie to the outside. Trish is playing mind games, according to Wade Keller, by blowing a kiss here. Eventually, Mickey's going to choke Trish, and the referee DQs Mickie because she fails to release the choke before a 5 count. And Mickie walks out with the belt, and Trish is yelling at her while holding her arm. And Wade thought it was disappointing considering the hype. He gives it 3/4 of a star. It doesn't feel like a pay-per-view match when it ends like this. It feels like another TV segment, right?
Well, it was a continuation of the story, and the story had a lot of legs left to it. And I thought that it was, something that fit on the pay-per-view. You can't all have 87 matches, go 300 hours long.
Next, let's talk a little bit about the show now. We're finally here. We're about 7 minutes into our conversation so far. Let's talk about Backlash. On Heat prior to the pay-per-view, Goldust beat Rob Conway with a power slam, and Joey Styles and Jerry Lawler called that match. But after the pay-per-view intro, Jim Ross joins Jerry Lawler at the broadcast position without any explanation, which Wade said wasn't surprising. Match number 1, Carlito gets a win over Chris Masters in 9 minutes and 58 seconds. Meltzer would say that Masters worked on Carlito's neck and in the back of his head after Carlito took the early offensive control. Of course, the master lock is what we're trying to tease here. He goes for the master lock eventually, but Carlito slips out and hits the lung blower. He makes a cover, places his feet on the ropes for the win, and he gets it. So there you go. Carlito wins. Meltzer didn't love it though. Called it a dud. There's a misplanned spot about 8.5 minutes in, where Carlito's on top of Masters and Masters forgets to kick out, and the referee comes up short on a 2 count that really was 3. And the fans are booing, and JR points out that Masters was asleep at the wheel. When you have a major snafu like this on pay-per-view, this has got to be something that gets under the craw of Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it's not good. And this is one of those where a referee should be, the final call. And if the guys, aren't doing their part, then the referee should count and move on. Make it real. The referee should have authority. And that's kind of where things get upset.
Let's talk a little bit about, you make the torch here and it's not favorable. Surprise. Another former WWE talent says Laurinaitis is a good fit with Vince McMahon's inner circle of Bruce Prichard, Gerald Briscoe. Quote, Prichard is the type to be your friend to your face, goad you into saying something negative about Vince and then run to Vince and quote you to get you in trouble and score brownie points with the boss. For what it's worth, Prichard is the executive who caught Randy Orton violating a WWE policy backstage WrestleMania week and promptly reported it to Vince McMahon, which was the final straw in Orton getting suspended.
Well, what say you, Conrad? You've been around me for several years.
No, that is not you. That is not your MO. I can agree with that.
But you've heard that because you've heard that from people that don't know me.
Well, yeah, listen, I think, one of the great things about Something to Wrestle is so much of this stuff was out there for so long, and you never tried to control the narrative. You just said, fuck it. It's a quote unquote dirt sheet. Who gives a shit? And so a lot of fans tuned into this show for the first time thinking, who wants to listen to Prichard? He's a stooge and he's a blah, blah, blah. And then you listen to the show and you're like, he's a fucking entertaining son of a bitch. So here we are enjoying our Something to Wrestle success. But still, when you read about this has to make you feel these motherfuckers.
No, I don't dignify it with an answer because it's ill-informed, people stating shit that from people who aren't there, that watch from the outskirts, that have no idea.
How does a story like the one here about it was Prichard who caught Randy Orton violating a policy, blah, blah, blah. How does that get out?
Same way everything else gets out.
Okay. This is a great show so far.
Telegraph, tell the wrestler.
Keep going here. Bruno Sammartino, Ultimate Warrior, and Randy Savage were all listed as candidates for next year's Hall of Fame. All three are on bad terms with the WWE to various degrees, but all three would easily qualify based on the standards that WWE has used. None of the three is likely willing to appear in person for the induction. Well, in Savage's case, Vince McMahon wouldn't welcome him. For undisclosed reasons, McMahon has said over the years that Savage is the one wrestler he never wants to hear brought up again, much less considered for any WWE involvement. That's all directly from the Torch. Do you think if his life wouldn't have been cut short and Randy was still with us today, it feels like Randy and Vince would have mended fences. He did with everybody else, Bruno, Warrior, Brett, everybody, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that Randy would have been there in person. 100%. I don't doubt that for a second.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.